For joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me get Instagram up. It is Spotlight. It's Spotlight Wednesday. Thank you for joining. Hey, Lecta, how are you? Happy Wednesday. Last week we did Spotlight. We did a Spotlight story on Thursday, but because it's Working Woman, because it's Working Woman Wednesday, we're doing our Spotlight story today. So thank you guys for joining. Hey, I'm putting the information in my Instagram. It's a Spotlight story on, I'm still getting used to this Instagram story on Sheila Johnson. That is great. Yeah, I'm doing wonderful. Have you guys heard of Sheila Johnson? Hey, Kaylee, how are you? Kylie Johnson, and she is going to be, have you guys heard of Woman Crush? Oh. Okay, let me make sure. This is a really inspiring story of one of the first Black American billionaires, guys. So if you missed my Spotlight story from last week, then you missed me talking about another Black woman millionaire. Hey, thanks for joining. Yeah, so I only want to give you guys stories that's going to inspire you, and we're going to start from how she got started and where she is now, because it's kind of a little, sorry, someone was trying to call me. It's kind of a little bit of Black history, but truthfully, sorry, people were calling me on my phone. It's a little bit of Black history, but truthfully, right now, it kind of goes along with what we were talking about. Thanks for joining. It's kind of what we were talking about on Monday, being a history maker. So I want to get started, but before I do, I want to ask you guys to do two things. If you can do me a favor on whether you're on, let me do it like this, whether you are on Instagram or Periscope, do me a favor and share this out, because not only because it's Black History Month, but because I really feel like these Spotlight stories will really help you know that, hey, I'm cool. And you can share it out on Instagram. I found that out yesterday. So I want to talk to you guys about Sheila Johnson and give you some keys from her life, give you some keys from her experience in business. Hey, thanks for joining. Give you some keys from her experience with business to help you where you are right now. So I asked you guys, have you ever heard of Sheila Johnson? And you're like, no, thanks for retweeting it. Well, let me just tell you, have you guys ever heard of the cable TV channel BET? If you have, give me the number 1, whether you're on Instagram or you're on Periscope. I think I'm going to make Instagram a little bit fun today. Maybe I'm going to do a filter. Let me see. Do I want to do a filter? Okay, great. So guess what? She was the co-owner and founder of BET. But before she did that, let me tell you what she was doing, okay? She was, she was a co-founder. And so these are people, hey, thanks for joining on Instagram. We're talking about Sheila Johnson, and thanks for joining if you're just joining on Periscope. We're talking about Sheila Johnson, who is the co-founder, owner of BET. And one of the things that's also inspiring about her story is that she sold her business. So before we get to that, let me tell you that she was a woman that started on the ground. She started as a music teacher, and she started as a concert violinist. So I'm always running into beautiful, aspiring female entrepreneurs who, they really don't feel like they're made for business, right? They feel like, well, I have this little hobby over here, or I'm like not really as into, I don't really think I know business. Well, she really didn't know business. She, even when she went to school, yeah, that's like, even when she went to school she went to college, where she met her husband, and then she became a concert violinist. And she tells in her story that her dad used to play classical music in the house, and that's kind of cool because we're influenced by some of the things that our parents do. Thanks for joining. And she said her dad was a neurosurgeon. So I don't want to say she came from money, because at that time, she was born in actually 1949. At that time, there was a lot of discrimination where her dad really, he wasn't making like neurosurgeon money, but he was a brilliant man, and he played classical music when he came home from work. So unlike some people that like drink their way, thanks for the hearts, they drink their way into relaxation, he played classical music and piano and violin, so she picked that up too. All right, so that was then, and this is now. So at some point, after she was married, her and her husband who was Bob Johnson, if you never heard of him, you can look him up too. This couple was like the true definition of like a power couple, because they went in it together. Together, they started this business. Thanks, brother, for joining. Together, they started this business, and they became the first two black people, a power couple, to be called billionaires, right, in America. So let me just draw back, because I am going to do some spotlights of my beautiful business chicks who are in other countries that are like just amazing. Like I even found the billionaires in Africa, and I will be doing a spotlight on her as well. So thank you. As you come in and join, let me stop right here. Let me give myself a quick introduction. I am the Savvy Business Chick. I want to make sure you know your purpose and destiny in the marketplace. And one of the things I wanted to do on a weekly basis, yeah, you guys are putting me to work, but these stories are inspiring me, so I want to hope that it inspires you, is giving you a spotlight. And guys, don't feel like, oh, this is only for the girls because I'm doing girls right now. At some point, I'm going to be doing men too. Hey, thanks. It's your first day on Periscope, and thank you for joining me on Twitter. Thank you. So, I'm Savvy Business Chick, and if you click the link in the bio, you will be able to connect with me on all my social media platforms, and just go back on some of my previous posts or Periscopes, and you'll be able to just see some of the topics that I discuss with you. So whether you're a work professional, aspiring entrepreneur, or existing entrepreneur, these things will help you with that daily grind. And this story really has inspired me and overwhelmed me, because I really didn't know that this woman has done so much. And one of the lessons that I have learned from just learning a little bit more about her is that she has managed to brand and rebrand herself. I'm not sure if you guys know what branding means, because I gently mention branding when I'm talking to my new clients, when I'm talking, thanks for posting that, when I'm talking to my new clients, or when I'm talking to existing entrepreneurs, or even people with their social media. And I'm like, what is your brand saying? So she calls them acts. At the first act of her life, she was a concert violinist. At the second act of life, she was co-founder of the first basically black TV station or cable TV station, made by us, made for us. That was kind of like their theme. And then her and her husband later went on to sell it. And, I thought this was a really important lesson. I'm going to get back to the branding, that they went to go sell it, because if you're like me, maybe if you grew up where I grew up, we like to hold on to things. Us as Black Americans, African Americans, or people of color, we're very possessional of something that we created. Oh, but I created this brand, I created this clothing line, I created this business, and we're very apprehensive when it comes to selling or letting it go. And she basically said, that the company at some point had left the vision, had left the mission, had left the purpose that they originally created it for, and that they actually made money, more money than they did running the company. They made more money selling the company. And I was like, whoa. So it was a what you call boss move that they did. They made a boss move to sell their company. And also, that really hones into, sometimes, I quote, this is my quote so far, I haven't heard anybody else say it, so I'm saying this is from the Savvy Business Chick. Nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity, guys. Nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. And what that means is that had they said, oh, well, if they're saying they'll give me $3 billion for this, because that's how much the selling price was, right? They said they're going to give me $3 billion for this. I wonder if I can get $5 million. Don't get yourself greedy. Don't get yourself greedy. And the funny thing is that they sold it for, not funny, this will teach you about business, right? So we hear, oh, they sold it for $3 billion. So they each got 1.5. Guess what? They had to pay off some company debt. So at the end of this deal, she was I don't want to say only worth, she was worth $400 million. And now with her Act 3, which I'm going to talk to you guys about in just a second, she's now worth $750 million. So she talks about that, like I said, Act 1, concert violinist. Okay, so she has a good appreciation for the arts. Hey, thanks for joining. And guys, don't be mean, tap the screen. So she has appreciation for the arts, for the finer things. And I always tell people, hey, something you've done in the past will help you with your future endeavors and help you with your business, help you with your side hustle. I was just on my brother, your health coach, Periscope, and he was talking to health professionals about the importance of having a side hustle. You need to have a side hustle because guess what? Things are changing. Things are changing. You don't always make money the same way you think. Just because you made money on that particular thing last year doesn't mean you're gonna be able to make money that way this year. So you need to be constantly revigorating, rebranding yourself. And that's why I love that Sheila Johnson really stresses that she rebranded herself. And one of the things that she rebranded herself is that she bought this property, guys. And this property she bought 360 acres. This was right outside of Washington, D.C. And guys, I've gone to that property. And guess what? When I went to that property, I met her. I'm going to post a picture of me meeting her. I think it's been 2 years ago. I met her. And guys, let me just tell you, that's not the only reason why I did study up on her, but I met her. And someone told me a long time ago, you know how like in the U.S. or maybe here in Washington, D.C., we have some really popular restaurants like Ruth Chris, or we may have like Morton Steakhouse. We may have some upper echelon kind of restaurants. Well, shame on you that you only go on the weekend, because myself, I went on a weekday. She was at her own spa getting treatments. And because she was there and I was there, guess what? Right place, right time. I was able to meet her. And I was there with my godmother Via, who was getting into doing real estate. When I met her, I was the one that said, "Can I get a picture?" Right? Hey, this is the branding and marketing, right? Can I get a picture? And she was very polite and cool about it. And I almost wish that I knew more about her like I do now. So because I was only able to share briefly that, hey, I'm in business and I have a healthcare agency. And what she said to me was, that's a good industry, keep up with it. Now, guys, I'm always talking about mentors and how much mentors matter. And then some people even ask me either on the Periscope or on a Facebook Live, well, how can I get in? How can I find a mentor? You really have to do the work. It's your responsibility. You know those memes, and it has the guy or the figure pointing at you. You have to do the work. You have to put in the work to find your own mentor. And they don't necessarily have to be in your exact same industry. You know, sometimes people can inspire you because your area of weakness, your area of struggle, your area where you keep disappointing yourself and letting your own self down may be something that they've mastered. And that's why I want to do these spotlight stories, because, you know, you can learn from something they master. Well, let me tell you something now. She bought a 360-acre property, which is right outside of Washington, D.C., in what's called Middleburg, Virginia. And one of the lessons she learned, because now she's considered a hoteler, right? So she has about 7 properties, guys, where it's like a hotel resort. And it's like a serious resort, like where there's like golf carts, and you know, like where people go do destination spas. And let me give you one of them, and I'm gonna put this information on my LinkedIn and Facebook page, and I'm gonna even let you guys see it for yourself. She has a property in Palm Harbor, Florida, and it's called the Instabrook Resort. It's a salamander golf and spa resort. And I'm just picking one of the 7, guys. This is just random selection. It has 609 guest rooms. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 restaurants on that property. It has amenities like the spas and golf courses, tennis courses, racquetball. You know, you can do a lot of things there. She built that. This is something that actually she bought the property and renovated. And she talks about renovating, it was either this property or another property in Florida. She did it when it was a recession. Again, what that showed me is that she's a long-term thinker. Sometimes you have to I'm going to get on here and do a broadcast about companies that started during the Depression. Here in the U.S., companies that start during a recession. Do you know that companies that start during that time have a chance to be more successful than the companies that start when things are booming? So you have to be a long-term thinker. And she talks about using her own intuition, her own insight, the God in me. You know how like Mary says, it's the God in me? Well, sometimes you have to listen, right? You gotta... I wish I had flappy ears, or like a GIF. But anyway, you have to listen. And one of the things she learned, she failed. You know how they say fall forward? She fell forward on the first phase of this property that's in Virginia because she said she had the wrong team. And I was like, wow. So she assembled together people that was with her in her Act 2, in her BET phase, right? And so she just assumed, okay, they was down for me then, they're going to be down for me now. But guess what? They weren't. They had their own agenda. They wanted her to fail. You know how I talked to you guys about frenemies? Well, that's very present in the workplace. People have their own agenda, but maybe they want to use your money, your skills, your limelight to, you know, basically accomplish what they want to accomplish. And then she basically said, she realized, wow, we're not making as much money as it's projected we're supposed to. I'm losing. And so you got to have like an aha moment. You got to pay attention to yourself. You know, when you're driving in a car, you know, now we have cars that will let us know, you know, cars speak to us. You know, they you know, it may jump, it may, you know, you may hear a sound, and then eventually you'll get like the signals that's on your car. They'll say, hey, check the engine or check the oil, blah, blah, blah. Well, your spirit, your inner man does the same thing. And so you really need to listen. You need to listen when you hear, hey, don't work with that person, don't do that. and she really talks about having a really good team. And she said, her team, they work together. They may not always agree, and that's something you need to learn in business, is that don't have people on your team or working for you or working with you. Hey, thanks for joining. That always, they're going to agree with everything that you say. No, have someone that's going to challenge you, that's going to tell you, hey, I don't know about that. And then you go back and forth and you realize, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. I know at first when that started really happening to me, at my office or my staff or with, board meetings, I didn't really like it. No, I want everybody to agree with me, right? Realistically, you want everybody to agree with me. But when you have someone that can give you, hey, if you do this, this could happen, and you learn to weigh, then you can avoid a lot of pitfalls. And basically what she said is that her first team didn't do that. Thank you. You're more than welcome. And if you're just joining, you can always go back and watch the replay. I will leave it up. And so we're talking about Sheila Johnson. And so far, we've gone over this woman, this business chick, who is now worth $750 million. Love you too. It's now worth $750 million that she rebranded herself. So guys, ask yourself, what is my brand? What is my personal brand, or what my professional brand? What does it say about me? Do people know what I do? Thanks. Do people know what I do? And don't be afraid to rebrand yourself. Okay, so that part of my life is over. Let's say you got a divorce. Let's say you lost a job. Let's say you sold a company. All these things happened to this lady. She got a divorce, but she was still a mother. She was still a woman. She sold her company. Selling her company could have been the equivalent of losing a job. She said she didn't want to sit. She can't just sit down. So it was like, what do I do next? So she had to make that money work for her. You got to make your money work. Otherwise, inflation. You think $400 million was a lot of money. It is. But inflation, guys, you think that sale in 2002 was going to last her all the rest of her life? No. So you got to be busy working and working it. And so that's what she did. She said, what do I want to do? And so she basically became a hotelier, and that's what she is now. She owns 7 properties here in the USA. So that is, like I said, business chick. The first power couple to be billionaires. The first couple that we really know, or business people that we really know, that sold their business. We can learn a lot from that. Like I said, because us as African Americans or people of color, we hold on to things that we should let go. Then she says the importance of embracing other cultures, because her dad was a neo. They do that in the workplace. They stay in their comfort zone. Okay, I'm not going to go introduce myself to Kim Lee. I'm not going to go introduce myself to Maria. They stick in their comfort zones, and that, shame on you if you do that, because you're missing out on embracing other cultures and building a team. She talked about the importance of that her husband has always been a really good networker, and because he has been a good networker, that helped them with the opportunities that they were presented with the BET cable station. Lastly, she said something, and I'm definitely going to do a Periscope, Instagram Live, or Facebook Live about this. She talks about working with family, that she at one point hired family members, and she no longer does that. And she says that because the lesson she learned with that is that if something goes wrong, and that person, thanks cousin, if something goes wrong and you have to later, fire that person, fire that family member, well, now you have problems in the family. Well, now when you go to family events, you're like, oh, there's this big, elephant in the room. So you just want to be very careful with hiring family, and I can testify that I've hired family or had family work for me as well. She said it's important for you to set boundaries when you're hiring family and friends. And I always tell people, actually one of my clients are two sisters, and I have stressed to them to write everything down and document it. Don't do things over the phone and be like, okay, so you're going to do that? Okay, nope, document it. I was like, from when you're in this office, you are president and vice president, but when you are outside of the office, then you are sisters. And I said, I stressed that with one of my clients recently, and I wanted to get that in their head, because also one is the older sister and one is a baby sister, and you may feel like, oh, I have to listen to her because she's the oldest in the family. Not in this office. That this is my responsibility, and that's your responsibility. Two more things, because it was a plethora of lessons that I learned from her, but she learned that the value of men respecting her. Thanks for joining. Men respecting her as a female boss. Hey, that men work underneath her, and that she's the boss, and that they report to her. I think that'll be a really good discussion for us to have on Periscope or Instagram world or Facebook world. How do men handle, hey, thanks for joining. How do men handle having a female boss, especially if it's like, she has large organizations, at whether it was BET or now her Salamander brand. She has large organizations, so it's not like she's like the small business chick. No, she is a world-class brand. Her businesses are like 4- and 5-star hotels. So I think that'll be a really good discussion and food for thought. If you are a male, have you ever worked for a female boss, and what was the difference between working for a female boss and a male boss? And lastly, I wanted to share about her beautiful story. Guys, it's just so much. I think I'm going to do like a blog on her, because it was just so much about her life that I was just like, boom, whoop, there it is. And I'm going to put on all of my social media platforms. I'm going to put her, the picture that I took. Remember I said her destination spa that's right outside of Washington, D.C., me, your girl, Savvy Business Chick, has a picture with this business mogul, this beautiful business lady that is our spotlight story. And I just want to make sure. Oh, that's right. This is something that I got off of the internet. She always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And I talked to you guys about having your side hustle. Maybe you're working 9 to 5, but her 6 to 10 was she made pot holders and sold them to neighbors. Okay, so have a side hustle mindset. So right now you may have to start out as a part-time entrepreneur. Have that be your 6 to 10. Work on grinding. When I was the business I currently own right now, my first couple of years, guys, like they say, blood, sweat, and tears. I want you guys to be inspired with today, that you can overcome any situation that's happened to you, whether it's a lost job, whether you fail forward in business, whether you were betrayed by a business owner, a business friend, or even a husband or a spouse or wife. You can regenerate yourself. Be inspired by her story, and know that even if you didn't do good in this area, guess what? Keep moving. She did. Concert Violinist. On the cable station. Now she's and now she owns hotels. Just keep regenerating yourself. She, at her age, she's probably at least 70 now. She's still doing it. What's your excuse? Young people, don't give up. If you're a young entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, don't give up. If you're a young professional, don't give up. One rejection of a job, don't give up. Thanks for joining. If you started a business before and that failed, still don't give up. Don't give up, because you if you listen to stories like this, you can succeed with the right mindset, with the right hard work, and obviously with the right team. So get somebody behind you that will push you forward and not be secretly trying to hold you back. And that is my, hey Nikki, that is my spotlight story on Sheila Angel, and excuse me, not Sheila Angel, Sheila Johnson. And if you're just joining, please watch the replay and be inspired. Bye. Hey Instagram, what happened to you guys? Hopefully you were able to catch what I was sharing about Sheila Johnson. And if you are in need of a brand review, because like I said, I love the fact that she just really branded and rebranded herself, then hit me up on the DM, okay? Peace.